Find your perfect fit with a custom suit from Indochino. From timeless classics to bold statements, you can express your style exactly how you want. Get 10% off any purchase of $3.99 or more at INDOCHINO.com with code PODCAST.
Legal Live is brought to you by Farah and Farah.
The comments and opinions expressed on this radio program do not constitute legal advice and do not create an attorney-client relationship. If you have a legal problem, a formal consultation will be required outside of this radio program.
This is Legal Live with Eddie and Chuck Farah. They're talking the latest legal news and answering your questions. To call Legal Live and ask Eddie and Chuck a question, grab your phone and dial 855-765-1045. That's 855-765-1045.
Welcome. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. Feel free to give us a call. Your calls are the most important part of this show. Our number is 855-765-1045. I'm your host, Shafalika Bhatnagar, and today I'm joined by the one and only Eddie Farah. How's it going?
Real good, Shafalika. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Good day for the Legal Live.
That's right. Feel free to give us a call, you guys.
Phone calls priority. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, but your concerns and your questions will supersede anything that I want to talk about.
That's right.
So we welcome all your phone calls. Anyway, I'll get moving. Things I want to get into. Excuse me. Yes, okay. I'm back. All right. A lot of people open up their properties for people to use them, for recreational purposes. For instance, if you live on the Swanee River, a lot of people have those rope swings and where they can swing off the tree into the river.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You've seen those around Itchitucknee, all those places around Florida. So if you own a piece of property and you open it up free to the public, like you're not asking for any money, you don't charge anything, under Florida Statute 375.251, you don't have any liability if somebody gets hurt on the property.
Oh, really?
Okay, as long as you don't charge for it. If it's open, free of charge for recreational purposes. Now, if there's something there that makes it very dangerous, that it's hidden, or you do something intentional, that's a different story. But generally, a property owner who has their property open for public, for recreational purposes and does not charge has no liability under the Florida statute.
Do you have to have a sign or something declaring it that
Not
it's
really.
free? And,
well, yeah, as long as you don't charge.
Okay.
I don't have to have a sign, but as long as you're not charging, free of charge, under the statute, the landowner is not responsible for keeping the park or the land safe for entry or use by others, or for giving warning of any hazardous conditions, structures, or activities on the property, like alligators in the river.
Oh, my goodness.
You're not responsible for telling people that, there are alligators out here or there are snakes or whatever. As long as it's free of charge and people are using your property, then you have no responsibility for that.
I see.
Yep. The only exception is if you engage in deliberate, willful, or malicious type conduct, which that's pretty extreme. Okay, so anyway.
That's interesting. So what if you have like an Airbnb or something? Then you are kind of charging, but somebody has like an old rope on a tree.
Well, you're charging for that. That's going to be a little different situation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think this is for people who have, vacant pieces of property that allow people to use it, for purposes. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they, I use the rope swing, but that's the thing familiar to me, but I don't know, it probably would apply even to hunting. If you've got a piece of property and you're allowing people to hunt on that piece of property free of charge, then you don't really you don't have any liability for bad things that happen on that property.
I see.
So you don't have a duty, according to the statute. He's not the landowner is not responsible for keeping the park or area or land safe for entry or use by others, or for giving warning of any hazardous conditions, structures, or activities on the property. So under that statute, I don't think you would have to warn that there may be other hunters or there were hunters on the property. So
That's interesting.
Yep.
I like that. Well, we do have a caller.
Yeah, go ahead.
We do have a caller, Ralph from Jacksonville. This is right up your alley, Eddie. He has a question about uninsured motorist coverage. What's going on, Ralph?
Hey, Ralph.
I got the question about uninsured motorists. Every time I complain to my insurance company that my insurance costs too much, they suggest I drop that. Should I drop that or keep?
Well, Ralph, they want you to drop it because they hate to sell it. They don't like to sell it because it doesn't really cost that much. If you look at the breakdown, ask your agent to give you the breakdown of the premium, and uninsured motorist is not that expensive. And
they're charging me about $600 $700 every 6 months, but that covers two vehicles.
Right, but look what it covers. It covers everybody who is living in your household, all resident relatives in the household. So it gives coverage for everybody, how many people you got living there. And it covers you even if you're in somebody else's car. Let's say you're in someone else's car and you get hit and the person that hits you doesn't have insurance, or the person whose car you're in causes the accident and he doesn't have enough insurance or no insurance. Your uninsured motorist will kick in. It will pay you for your injuries. If you're on a bicycle and somebody hits you, you're hit by a vehicle, it covers you. If you're walking down the street, it covers you. If your children are in somebody else's car, they're covered. So it gives a lot of coverage, and it's well worth it. If you can afford it, it's something you really need to have.
Okay, yeah, every time I mention it, they say, "Oh, you need to get rid of that."
Yeah, because look at all the things that it covers. Insurance companies hate that kind of exposure. They want to sell you. We want to cover your property damage up to $10,000. They know it's limited to $10,000. Uninsured motorist, provides money for pain and suffering, lost wages. It covers any kind of injury, loss of enjoyment of life. It covers anything, any way that you're affected economically or physically or injury-wise. It covers you in the event you're in an accident, even if you're not in your car.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep telling them. I said, well, I hear all these hit and runs. I said, wouldn't that cover it?
Same thing. That's a great. That's a great example. The hit and runs that people just. And you're seeing so many. You turn on the news every day. There's a hit and run. I mean,
that's right. And we've had so many pedestrian hits as well.
People just keep going. People don't stop. And we see so many accidents in our office of hit and runs. People just hit and just keep going. And so that's why uninsured motorist is perfect for that.
Okay,
I know.
Good,
yeah, it's $1,300, $100 a month, but
worth it.
If you look at the coverage, I don't know what kind of limits you have for that. You probably got some pretty good limits. And you can stack it. If you have 2 cars in the household and you got 100,000 of uninsured motorists on each car, now you have 200. If you have 3 cars, you have 300. So typically, it's stackable. So
it is stacked, right?
So that's a lot of insurance for a little bit of money.
Yeah. Does that answer your question, Ralph?
Yes. I appreciate it very much.
Hope you never have to use it, but
that's
it's there.
True. And don't let them trick you into getting rid of it, in my opinion.
That's the one thing they wanted you to get rid of.
Yeah.
Because it covers so much stuff.
That's the first thing that comes out of his mouth every time. Get rid of uninsured.
Yeah, because it's not required that you have it in Florida. But remember, in Florida, 20% of the people driving don't have any bodily injury coverage because you're not required in Florida to have bodily injury. So if you don't have uninsured motorist and somebody hits you, then you're out of luck.
Wow.
So it covers you. Protect yourself, Ralph.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, man. Thanks for calling in, Ralph.
Appreciate y'all's support for the military.
Yeah, man. 5-star veterans are good guys over there.
That's right.
Yeah, they are.
Those guys, they got it going. Go by there and see the colonel. He's got it going on over there.
Thank you so much for your call, Ralph. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We'll be right back after this quick break. Welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm your host, Shafalika Bhatnagar, and today we've got Eddie Farah live in studio. Give us a call. Our number is 855-765-1045. Well, Eddie, we've got another caller on the line. You want to jump right in?
Let's go ahead.
Let's do it. Let's go to Michelle, who's got a slip and fall question. Michelle, are you okay? What's going on?
Hi, how are you guys?
Hey, Michelle.
Hi, I'm doing well.
I recently had a slip and fall in my gym. We did an incident report. I slipped on some water. There was no signs. About 2 days later, I did have a contusion on my knee and on my forearm. And about 2 days later, my shoulder started hurting. So I went back to the doctor. They did x-rays. Everything looked good. They gave me a shot, said if I didn't feel better in a week, to check back in. I did. They sent me for an MRI. And I got the results yesterday that I have 2 tears in my shoulder. So just wondering, do I have a case?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty bad injury. Does the doctor relate the tears to the fall?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I've never had a problem with my shoulder.
Yeah, so it's related to the fall that you had at the gym, correct? Is that your understanding?
Correct.
Okay. And how's the knee doing? I mean, is he doing anything?
The knee, the knee healed up and the forearm healed up. They were kind of like rug burn contusion with a little bit of blood.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, first of all, how long ago did this happen?
I guess it happened about a week and a half ago.
Okay. Are you aware of was there any video surveillance at the time?
I would assume that there is the video surveillance
Okay.
that the gym does. They took me to do the incident report. While we were doing that, they mopped up the area and put a wet floor sign.
Where was the water coming from?
The best that we can guess, it was raining outside, so probably from people, just coming in and out, going into the locker room.
Like guy tracking it in from the outside. Were there any mats?
Right.
Were there any mats out there allowing people to dry their feet off before they came in?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so first of all, what you want to do is you want to preserve the video. You want to put them on notice. The incident report you're not entitled to. That's called worked product. You would think that you help fill it out and that you should be able to get a copy of it, but under the law, they're not required to provide you a copy of the incident report. All right.
Right, and they wouldn't give me a copy, but my friend snapped a photo of it.
Oh, he's got it good. Okay,
yeah, good friend. I was about to say, did you take a photo?
She doesn't need a lawyer,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But
that's a good friend,
you have a copy. You have that. That's good because there may be witnesses or there may be comments by them. But I think it's a case you really want to look into, especially with that shoulder injury, because that could perhaps require a surgery of some sort, and that can be a big deal.
And I'm going to see my orthopedist on the 23rd, but the radiologist that read my MRI in the note, that's what it does say, that there will probably have to be a surgery.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Well, I mean, that's something that we could talk to you about if you wanted to talk to us about it, but it's a case that you really need to pursue because time runs and they don't keep the video, especially if the video is not favorable to them. They, sometimes the video disappears, but once you put them on notice by certified mail to preserve the video, if they destroy the video after that, then there are some repercussions against them if they do that. And the judge can impose sanctions against them. So if you want to keep if you want to give your number to our producer, then we can reach out to you on Monday
That'd be great.
about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds
Stay on
great.
the line,
Thanks.
Michelle,
I appreciate
for
it,
sure.
Michelle. Yeah.
Yeah, stay on the line, and Daniel will take your number.
Yeah. See, the thing is, on these slip and falls, the video is very important.
I was about to think, and it's just a week or so ago. So that's,
hopefully they still have it. And but if it's if they're tracking the water in from the outside, it's raining, then you should take some precautions to keep the floor clean.
Yeah, and you have to have mats and whatnot, and they track it all the way to the locker room doors.
Yeah.
And
it's a high traffic area.
Absolutely,
a lot of people are coming in. There's more water coming in. But the incident, I've never heard of anybody doing that.
Oh yeah, I take a photo of everything I fill out. Michelle's got a good friend right there.
That's why I come to the radio show, Shafalika, so I can learn from the listeners here.
Yeah, ask them next time. Somebody take a photo.
Take a picture. I never told anybody. I'm going to start telling every client, everybody.
You put your name on something.
If you can't give, because they won't give you a copy of it. They're not required to.
Right.
It's work product because it's considered as it's anticipating a lawsuit. Since it's anticipating a lawsuit, they're not required to give it to you. Mm-hmm. But Michelle was smart and got a copy, took a picture of it.
Yeah.
It'd be a good thing.
I think that's an important thing to say. And people, I mean, once you take that photo, it's legal when you're filling it out to take the photo.
Yeah.
And then you have a actual copy of it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's why I come here every Saturday.
Well, look at you. We learn something new every day here at Legal Live. Yeah. Thank you so much for calling, Michelle, actually.
Yeah, she's getting good. She did a smart thing by getting, she didn't wait to get treatment.
That's right, she did. And, especially after 2 days, there was a contusion. After 2 more days, there was pain.
Yeah, and the
shoulder. That type of tear, that does take a little time for the body to respond.
Yeah, it's still in shock, and so it.
And 2 tears equals a surgery. That's going to put her out of work potentially. Right. And then there is a reason to actually cover, have some insurance coverage. Mm-hmm. And the fact that was a great question too. Did they have mats? Yeah. From, for people to dry their shoes off and whatnot. I would not have thought about that. I might even go back to the gym or have the friend just see if they actually do put mats down when it's raining outside.
Well, maybe the video will show us.
Maybe. They better still have it, Eddie.
Yep.
Yeah. But, and maybe there's photos from that day of people at the gym online, or even, her photos or anybody else's photos from that day showing that there's no mats on the floor, know? Well, okay. I think that was a really interesting question. I'm so sorry you got hurt, Michelle, but stay on the line, and Daniel will get your number, and Eddie and Chuck will be in contact with you. That's what we do here at Legal Live, brought to you by Farah Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. We have a quick break coming up, but give us a call at 855-765-1045. We'll be right back after this quick break. Welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm your host, Shafalika Botnagar, and today I'm joined live in studio by the one and only Eddie Farah. We would love to hear from you. We've had some great callers today. Our number is 855-765-1045. Well, Eddie, let's dive in.
All right, let's talk about some criminal law right now. Typically, we talk about civil and insurance issues, but
the criminals. Ooh.
The criminal stuff, there's always interesting constitutional issues involved. Mm-hmm. And there was a case I read about, although we don't do any criminal law in the office, I try to read about the interesting cases. And here was a situation where the police seized a van. It was a home improvement van. Mm-hmm. And they took, this guy, he makes his living from it. All his tools are in there, and all his materials and his supplies and everything. And the reason why they seized the van, they seized it as a bargaining chip because they wanted to know the identity of a suspect they were looking for who was a passenger in the van.
Oh, okay.
So they go up to the person who owns the van, the home improvement van, and say, listen, we want to know the name of this guy who was a passenger in your van. And so he said, I'm not going to tell you. So what they do is they take the van. They take his everything. That's his way.
That's his livelihood.
Everything.
Right?
It's how he makes a living, how he pays his bills. Mm-hmm. It is his livelihood. So they seize the van, and they don't give it back to him. They say, we'll give it back to you when you tell us who the passenger was. So they seize it. They keep it for a year.
What?
So what he does, he files a lawsuit, a claim against the police for illegal search and seizure. Because you can't see under, and the judge rules you cannot seize someone's property as a bargaining chip, which is what they were doing. Now they could have seized it at the beginning and maybe held it for a week and said, hey, we need to know who this guy is. But when they had it for almost a year, the guy couldn't make a living. So
that's lost
he was
wages.
able to sue for all his lost wages and his civil rights. So
wow.
I thought that was a pretty interesting case.
Yeah. I would not have thought that they would take somebody else's property to find out who was
they held
bystander.
it hostage. Yeah.
They held it hostage.
We'll give you the van back when you tell us who the passenger was.
Tell us Joe Schmo's name. Why?
And he goes, I'm not going to tell you who the passenger was. So
I don't understand how the passenger has anything to do with. Did they think they'd find evidence regarding the passenger?
I think they were after the passenger.
Right.
And he was the suspect. They wanted to know who that was the person they wanted to arrest. And so they would know who it was.
Wow.
But he wouldn't tell them.
Wow, it's like,
So
let me
anyway.
evict you from your house so I can find out who your house guest
Yeah,
was.
you can't come back and yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
I know. Well,
Wow.
they did it.
Wow.
And they had it for about a year.
So the judge did rule in their favor. Is that correct?
In the van owner's favor.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow,
Said
wow,
he could
wow.
not hold it and that he was entitled to damages.
Well, what a clever man to be like, no, I'm not telling you who the passenger was.
Yeah.
Like, it's not
Okay,
none of your business.
And we'll take your, like you say, we'll take your livelihood.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a caller
Okay,
on the line,
okay.
actually, just came on in. Now, Michael, you're going to have to ask us what this question is because I'm seeing here on the show notes, man weathers. So, Michael, thanks for calling in and tell us, what's your question?
Oh.
You there, Michael? Oh,
I'm there. Can you hear me?
yeah, we can
we
hear
got
you.
Okay. Pretty much on demand letters. Let's say
Demand
hypothetically.
letters. Is that correct?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, demand letters.
Got it.
That-
Go ahead.
Am I on the air?
Yes,
Yeah,
you
we-
are. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Just curious. I understand the comparative negligence part with these insurance companies. And I know in Florida there are laws. The courts, they want you to play fair before you even take it to court. An insurance policy may be the other person's at fault. Say they have a $500,000 policy. They're banged up pretty good. Other person at fault. On a demand letter, do you go for the entire policy limits? Do you go for part of it? And say, for instance, you go for the $500,000 policy limit. And the insurance comes back and says, no, I'm only going to offer $12,000.
Right.
I mean, how's that played out?
Okay. Well, first of all, when you prepare the demand package or the letter, you want to lay out the basis for the money that you're asking for. Okay. So what you want to include in that letter is any type of economic losses, like past medical bills, all your past lost wages, times you were off of work. And then based on what your doctors say, you may have future medical bills. For instance, if you're getting, the previous caller, Michelle, was getting some injections, I think shots, she said. Sometimes those shots have to continue for the rest of your life. So if they're $5,000 a piece and you've got a life expectancy of 50 years because you're 40 years, 30 years old now, well, that's $250,000 of future medical treatment. The insurance company does not get a set-off if you have health insurance. They can't come back and say, Ralph, well, all those future medical expenses can be paid by health insurance. You can claim every penny of future health insurance. You're kind of breaking up.
Yeah, Mike, are you on speakerphone or something?
Okay. No, so
No,
you got
no.
but you got to have a basis to ask for the money. So you got to take into account all your future expenses that you'd incur. You may have future physical therapy that you
Right.
need. I mean, it could be a whole.
Rehabilitation.
So there's all kind of medical You may need. Some people are getting what they call ablations in their back, where the doctors
Right.
go in and burn the nerve and it gives you good relief. A lot of people they don't want to have the surgery, and sometimes those ablations work better than the surgery, but they're not permanent, and you have to keep going back and getting them, and they're like $15,000 a piece, and I mean this can add up to a lot of money, and then you got pain and suffering and so forth. So that you got to have
But
a
here's
basis.
the thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, my brother-in-law was banged up pretty good. He is going to therapy. He has gone to the doctor. It's cut up and bruised up. But insurance companies, Eddie, better than anyone, how they're going to come back saying, well, this is, what do you call it, pre-existing.
Right.
Insurance does not want to pay on personal injury.
Right.
But you can't lowball. I mean, if you're asking for $500,000, they got to reasonably come back with something because you're trying to play fair before you say, well, the heck with this, let's take it to court. Insurance companies always come back with this is pre-existing. They keep saying that and fighting you on it.
Yeah. They say, or it's an old, it's old injury, or it's or you didn't do enough to get better, or you're going to get better, and this
or they
is
find
just
a way to
temporary.
blame the victim for the
they
accident.
But under the law, if you do this stuff, if you read the law, the pre-existing condition should not affect it, because under the law, if they aggravate a pre-existing condition, they're responsible for that. Just because somebody who doesn't have a pre-existing, I mean, listen, you can do an MRI on probably a 25-year-old, and they probably got arthritic changes in their back. So it doesn't have. So the pre-existing condition does not give them a free ticket out, because if your doctor, if you can show that the and plus most people with pre-existing conditions, nothing's bothering them. They're living their life. They're playing golf. They're running. They're doing what they want to do, and all of a sudden they're in an accident, and that pre-existing condition is aggravated, and now they can't do what they were doing before the accident. So don't let the pre-existing condition let them chisel down the value of your case, okay? Because the doctors who know how to break down those injuries can explain it better, and that's why it's very important that you have a doctor that understands the AMA guidelines, because that's what the insurance companies look at. There's the AMA guidelines for impairment. That's what the insurance companies look at to value claims. Not all doctors are trained on how to do the impairments. So make sure your doctor is familiar with the AMA guidelines on impairment. Okay. So he can explain fully what the injury is. So there are a lot of factors involved. Go ahead.
As far as amount of negotiations, say you did ask for the policy limits of $500,000, and the insurance companies are jerks. They say, "Well, we'll offer $30,000."
Right.
You might want to go back and stand firm with the $500,000. They come back at $32,000. Can you just stop the negotiation and say, "Enough of this. You're not playing fair.
You can just
Let's go to court."
Yeah, you can file your lawsuit and go to court. Right. How long has it been? It hasn't been. Has it been a long time? I mean, are you concerned?
Just a few months.
Oh, just a few months. Okay.
They're good.
Yeah. Well, really, if it's
the whole, everything's all laid out. Doctor, the medical.
Yeah.
It's all laid out, and there's, he's due money. I'm just curious how this works, and I'm doing my due diligence.
Yeah. What you want to make sure of that your son is at maximum medical improvement, and that's called MMI. What that means is the doctor says he's not getting any better, and he's not going to get any worse, because it's only been a few months. Sometimes it takes 8, 9, 10 months to really know where you are for the long term. Because if you settle now and the problem gets worse, you're out of luck. You want to make sure your son's at maximum medical improvement. And
so what you're saying is,
it may be too soon.
You could wait 8. You could wait 8 months, 10 months to a year before you would actually send that demand letter.
You can,
right?
Depending. Every case is unique. Sometimes, it depends. It depends. If a person continues to get treatment, they're not at maximum medical improvement. They're trying different procedures. Maybe they're doing some physical therapy first for a few months. The physical therapy ain't working. It's not working, so they send you to a surgeon to get a surgical consult. And I mean, so it could take some time. Yeah, it could take 6, 8, 9 months to figure out where you are for the long term. Because, of course, that's why you want to take your time. You want to make sure the doctors that you have know what they're doing when it comes to these types of cases, and that you're at maximum medical improvement. You don't want to settle it. Even if they offered you $100,000 and you're not at maximum medical improvement, you're taking a big chance, because if things got worse and he needs surgery later on, and maybe he needs surgery and he can't work for 6 months, I mean, you're not going to be able to claim all that.
All right. It's a sticky web. It really is.
It's not really a sticky web, as long as if you go through it methodically and systematically and make sure everything's covered, then you'll make the right offer at the right time. But also,
these insurance companies have so much money.
Oh, I know that.
So much time. I mean, they'll keep just dragging their feet until you get so frustrated and you just want to settle.
And that's how they wear you down.
They hired,
yes, ma'am.
They hired the McKinsey Corporation. They're a worldwide consulting group, and they did a manual for them. They told the insurance companies, here's how you're going to make a ton of money. And the name of the book was Delay, Deny, and Defend. In other words, delay the claim, deny it, then delay it, and just wear down the person, wear down the victim.
That's awful.
And they wrote a book, and this is how you can increase the bottom line. And they follow that book, Delay, Deny, and Defend. And so that's why you got to be aggressive. But you can't be aggressive. I mean, by aggressive, I mean making sure all your ducks in a row. Aggressive is not sending out a demand after 2 months for $500,000, because they're going to look at that and say there's no justification for it. You have to lay it out to them. And I'll tell you, the other thing you want to make sure, if there's a $500,000 policy there, there's probably an umbrella policy on top of it. because these days, in order to get an umbrella policy, you got to have typically at least $500,000 of underlying coverage. So there's probably more insurance involved in that case.
Wow.
And if there is an umbrella, a lot of times the umbrella carrier, the insurance company that has the coverage over the $500,000, will put pressure on the company that has the $500,000 to settle it, to keep them out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's other factors going on. And then, of course, if you have uninsured motorist coverage and your son's case is worth $700, I mean, you get the $500 from them and you can get the rest from your uninsured motorist carrier. So you got a lot going on there.
Michael?
But you know...
Yeah.
I think you should stay
very,
on the line.
very, very, very helpful.
Right?
I mean,
Stay on the line. Give us your number. I think that there'll be some more information just in case.
Yeah, but right now, I think make sure that your son's getting the right treatment and that everything, because he's young. Anything, you can develop. He could develop arthritic changes down the road. Like he could, I don't know how old he is now.
Skeletal differences,
in 10 years, he could have all kind of, problems in his spine and so forth that would affect his earning ability and affect his quality of life. A doctor can.
It's never too late to get an attorney.
Yeah. A doctor can address that, and a doctor can put a price tag on what it's going to cost to take care of that. Mm-hmm. And so that's how you're going to make them pay that money. It's not by just sending a letter out. Okay.
You know what?
I think he understands it.
I think, you know what, thank you, Eddie. I learned so much just from that one caller right now. Michael, fantastic.
There's probably an umbrella policy if they got to have.
Oh, Michael, don't you worry. Okay, if they're going to delay, you be patient. If they're going to defend, you stand up for yourself. And if they're going to deny, you fight. How about that?
I guarantee that you will not see that on their commercial.
Oh, no, you won't.
You know what they talk about? If you watch their commercials.
All right, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate the help.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Well,
Thanks, Michael.
If you notice all those commercials, Shvalika, they talk about, we fixed the bumper and the wedding collapses and they fix the roof and all that. They talk about fixing those material things because those material things have a limited value. Right. I mean, a bumper is only worth $500 or whatever.
Right.
They never talk about, we're going to pay for all your pain and suffering and all the future you have to deal with.
Right. They don't talk about that. The real life impacts. They talk
about the human damages. They talk about the physical damages.
Exactly.
And the human damages are the ones that matter.
That's the one, and that's why we pay them to begin with. Let's be real. All right. Well, thank you so much, Michael, for that call. Thank you so much for calling in. We've got a quick break coming up, and we'll be right back with more Legal Live coming up next. Welcome back. You're listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm Shafalika, and I'm joined by Eddie today. And I was just saying, we got a couple of good callers today and a few minutes to wrap it up. Right. So,
can I have a minute?
Oh, you have plenty of time.
Okay,
go for it.
All
right, go for it.
I'm not done yet. Okay.
I know.
Okay, that's okay. We can talk about this next week. But, we talk about how the rich get richer. Here's a class at, Amazon. I mean, who's not making, everybody knows what kind of money they're making. Mm-hmm. But there's a class. I couldn't, when I read it, I said, this can't be true. You know, I mean, how much more money do you want to make? But what Amazon is accused of doing is that they repeat, and there's a class action file, so obviously there are some people that it's happened to them, that Amazon is repeatedly and systematically fails to issue refunds for unwanted items that are returned within 30 days. So, you can return.
You're right.
You're supposed to get a refund. If you return within 30 days, Amazon issues a refund. But what they're doing, they send you a notification, like an email or a text or whatever, they've issued your refund when they really haven't.
What?
They kept the money.
They kept the money?
Yeah. But they so you read it, go, I got my refund. You read the email. But, most people don't, I guess.
Check their bank.
Yeah. And
Are you serious?
That's we need to go look into this because I read it. I want to make sure it's correct.
I need to check my Amazon purchases.
I want to research it more because here's a company that's got. I mean, who knows what what
billions and billions and billions.
They make billions are like pocket money.
Gosh.
But so they never issue the credit.
So how did they get busted on this? Because
I guess some people found out. Listen, I received a notification that my refund's been issued, but it never showed up on my account.
Right.
So, and plus a lot of times I'm buying $10, $50, sometimes you don't realize it. If it's a small amount, a huge purchase, you're going to be looking for it.
Right.
But I know me, if it's $5, $10, I'm maybe not really looking for that credit.
And you trust the notification you get.
Yeah. And
But that's just straight up fraud, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But that's what they're being sued for. We'll see if that all pans out. But anyway, I mean, that's something.
That's
fantastic. I just wanted to mention it because
that's a public service announcement, you guys. Everybody check your Amazon refunds.
Like Amazon needs it, Anyway.
My brand new neighbor from Argentina, Carolina, she actually gets Amazon packages like 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to let her know that, Eddie. That is really important
Check your
information.
account.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll definitely keep an eye on that, and we'll look into that next week.
We'll pick it up next week. Thanks.
It has been such a great show today. Thank you so much to Ralph, Michelle, and Michael for giving us a call today. You've been listening to Legal Live, brought to you by Farah and Farah on 104.5 WOKV, Jacksonville's News and Talk. I'm your host, Shafala Kabatnagar, and thank you to the one and only Eddie Farah for joining us today and giving some really good advice. Give us a call next week. We'll be back again Saturday at noon. Thank you for listening.
Is there anything more satisfying than finding something that perfectly lines up with your taste and checks all the boxes? Like a suit from Indochino. Their suits are made to measure and totally customizable with endless options. Choose the cut, fabric, lining, and more for the suit of your dreams at a surprisingly affordable price. Go to Indochino.com and use code PODCAST to get 10% off any purchase of $3.99 or more. That's 10% off at INDOCHINO.com with code PODCAST.